After locating the mysterious stranger unconscious in the heart of a fallen star, we escort him to New Tristram and speak to the aging scholar, Deckard Cain, who begins to question his identity, asking,
"Tell me everything you remember, stranger. Every detail."
Falling. Fire. A sword of great power. It was part of me, but it shattered into 3 pieces as I fell.
It is vital that we find those pieces. I believe the sword made whole will restore your memory.
The goatmen are rampaging through the fields. Could the sword have anything to do with that?
Of course, of course. Just as the dead rose around the stranger, the sword pieces drove the goatmen to madness.
All goatmen are mad. They don't need a sword for that. But I will search their fields.
perhaps this broken sword of the stranger coveted by the feral goatmen will restore his memories. However, we question if Cain's own Horadrim order may hold further clues to the current events and query.
The Horadrim were powerful mages gathered together by the Archangel Tyrael to defeat the 3 prime evils, Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal. They devoted themselves fully to the destruction of the demon lords and left behind valuable tomes and teachings.
How did you become the last of them?
My ancestor was the leader of the Horadrim, Jared Cain. When the Horadrim died out, their tomes stayed in my family. I was thrilled by tales of the Horadrim as a little boy, but it wasn't until I returned to them as an adult that I realized they contained deeper truths.
Although the prime evils seem to be behind most of the misgivings in Tristram's own past, we question why instead the stranger fell from the heavens, and Cain expounds.
Tyrael is the angel of justice. He has been helping mankind for generations, though he is forbidden to do so in any direct manner. Long ago, the high heavens and the burning hells made a pact as a result of the Sin War that they would not interfere in our world.
The demons broke this pact, yet Tyrael did nothing.
The Angiris Council, the archangels that lead heaven, almost destroyed our world once to keep the demons from spreading their corruption upon it. If Tyrael were to act directly, it would alert the Council to the demons' activities here and imperil us all.
It would seem humanity's greatest ally is one Archangel Tyrael, but he is sworn to not intervene in human matters. Mulling this over, we turn to the stranger and press him for any memory that could potentially aid us in finding his sword.
Do you remember anything besides falling?
Only that there were surges of light and a kind of pain.
So, nothing then?
The emptiness gnaws at me. It is a constant frustration.
You have nothing to believe in. The sword will help.
This sword is a part of his very being? Although we don't fully grasp the concept, we do somehow understand the feeling. Speaking of a good sword arm, we turn to enlist the aid of the Templar Cormac before we explore the Khazra-infested fields of misery.
I cannot return to the Order in glory until the rivers run red with the blood of our enemies. Lead the way to glory!
Entering the cemetery of the Forsaken via Waypoint, we force our way through the dilapidated iron gates to the northwest, heading over a ramshackle bridge that can barely sustain our weight and into the infamous Fields of Misery. It's then Cormac steadfastly announces,
If there's a sword here, we will find it.
Not long after, we're waylaid by enemies and must defend ourselves. During the battle, we see on the corpse of a slain traveller a journal by one Abd al-Hazir that reads,
The Tristram fields are fair lands, fertile and temperate. Superstitious farmers kept away from them for quite a while after the fall of Old Tristram. But time has persuaded them to abandon these ridiculous notions and take up the hoe and plough once more. Now they supply crops to both New Tristram and Wortham.
It's unfortunate that good people have paid with their lives, but who could have guessed the events would transpire, set about due to a star that would fall, and that darkness would descend again on this sleepy hamlet once more. Scouring the fields, we find, amid the bodies of dead townsmen at a forlorn farm, lies a corpse of a beast. Upon closer inspection, we discover
Something has been gnawing at this corpse.
all around the carcass, burrowing leapers who lay in wait spring forth for another victim. Led by a unique burrow bile, a grotesque scavenger guiding the ambush. It spews electricity as it wildly claws in hopes of a fresh kill. Bearing the brunt of the attack, it's shocked to be relieved of its own life instead, thanks to a powerful swipe of our holy flail.
Those scavengers trapped my poor wife and me down there for hours. I'm sure she'd love to meet you and thank you for your help.
Momentarily taken aback by the farmer's surprise appearance, we do oblige him nonetheless and head into his cellar below to meet his grateful wife.
My love, this is the man who saved our farm.
This is your wife. She appears unwell.
She has been ill of late, but my love will see her through.
I should really go.
Oh, she's nodded off.
What a cruel and undeserving fate for the man. Clearly, the accursed goatmen are not the only denizens driven mad by the presence of the fallen star's power. Dark tidings indeed. It's southeast that we contend with plague nests and cave leapers, which seem to be the prevailing monstrosities subsisting on death and decay wrought by the elusive goatmen. It's not long before we happen upon another residence tucked into the north side of the hill, a sheltered cottage, and remark,
Someone lives here.
Stay away! There's nothing in here of use to you!
We should have known. The farmers left over a fortnight ago, and yet we stayed. Last night, we heard the beasts creeping closer. My husband left to investigate, and I haven't seen him since. All I have left are the things we made together. Hopefully, they are of more use to someone else.
clearing the area just outside the residence in hopes of creating safe passage. We then step inside and inform the tinkerer therein, who says,
These are dark times, my friend. I thought for a moment you were one of those dreadful goatmen. Since you're not, would you like to buy something?
We take up her offer, and while perusing her wares, Cormac then states,
I'm glad that fate has brought us together on this path.
Why is that?
You fight with both honor and ferocity. I know that a pure soul must burn within you.
We thank Cormac for his kind remark, and while later searching for the den of the Khazra, we begin the task of clearing the area, starting with an overrun crypt, its inhabitants unsettled by the star, and learn more about the Templar as he questions.
The darkness.
But we are courageous. Surely you don't suggest evil is brave?
We don't know if evil is courageous per se, but pervasive, yes. Ever a threat to all that is good? Absolutely. Vigilance is required and determination, especially when undertaking the unenviable task of putting to rest good men and women re-risen and in the service of the unholy powers that be. Clearing the crypt, we then return to our search of the fields once more, living up to their name as we miserably trudge through the bog, lost and still in search of the ever-elusive Khazra den. Probing the fields, we find a den that has been burrowed out of a dead tree, corpses littered about, and potentially what we're in search of. With no goatmen about, we do find, however, a single villager's corpse and say,
This one hasn't been dead long.
As then we're set upon by more buried leapers. Heading inside the burrow to the east, Cormac then further questions.
Are you ever afraid in battle?
No. I feel fear before and after the battle.
Few could admit that so simply.
We enter the second level and are accosted by a multitude of leapers. Their unique leader, Zalix Greedgallo, attacks, using a jailing ability to attempt to hold us in place and make us a later meal. We bludgeon the animals with our warhammer, but unfortunately, to little effect. Their hides seem to be too strong and our weapon failing, but it holds out long enough for us to deliver the final blow. Felling the fiend, we then see the spoils it was guarding, including a formidable polearm for our fight to come. Fortune smiling upon us as we attempt to leave the cave via shrine, an errant leaper decides to make a last-ditch attempt at barring our path, giving us ample advantage to test our new weapon as it cuts a swath effortlessly through its bloated belly. Scouring the fields once more to the north, we happen upon a trio of Moon Clan warriors milling about and realize that they were sentries to their lair, saying,
The sword piece is near.
But the den itself is not unguarded, as a hiking wood wraith springs to life in its defense as if called by the star itself. Once clear, we see the familiar blue hue of the fallen star. Evident, a fragment of the sword has plummeted through the earth and into the accursed Goatmen's sanctuary. Inside, we're confronted with bloody effigies, crudely bound with human skulls atop wards for any foolish enough to venture forth. Gathering our party, we step west into the den as a huge log trap springs, nearly killing us with its girth. We do happen to see a poor previous victim's legs, all that's left of their encounter. Now, alerted to our presence, a brigade of Moon Clan goatmen and coven cultists rushes, thankfully, our halberd cleaving their flesh with ease. As we explore the den, another wooden trap is sprung, but we are more wary this time and step aside as a cultist cries,
Kill him!
Moving north, the air changes from a crimson bloody mist to raw, crackling energy from the star's resting place. Surrounding it are cultists who scramble.
We must hurry with the ritual. Magda will be here soon. It is turning.
The zealots, so focused on their prize, nary acknowledge our intrusion during their incantation. We then spy a lone prisoner on the west side of the room and go to free him. Unfortunately, it's too late. We steal our resolve
I admire your tenacity, but you're mad.
and fling our holy shield into the back of the far left mage as it ricochets into his brethren. Caught off guard and ripped from their spell, only two still stand. The chief among them, Auric the Seer, casting a curse that only momentarily breaks our resolve as we call upon the heavens themselves and leap high in the air to come crashing down on him as his body limply twists in defeat.
The sword glows. Perhaps the goatmen truly were driven mad.
Who are you to take what is mine?
I am a crusader.
Regardless, I have claimed it. I am Magda, and I lead this coven. The shard is mine.
I disagree.
Very well. Let the games begin.
The new winged apparition, Magda, apparently leader of the coven, summons an army of enraged zealots to do her dirty work, yet without time to cast their petty magics, a little more than fodder for the might of a crusader.
Well fought, but you will never possess the next piece. It has fallen where only the ancients may tread.
She is more devious than she appears.
Although this battle has been won, the war is still fought. Magda promises that the next piece of the sword cannot be possessed so lightly, but her pride may be her downfall, as she has imparted a valuable clue on its whereabouts. Cautiously, we move towards the glowing sword shard and excavate it from the earth. Now, firmly in our possession, we return to town via portal, handing it to Cain, who exclaims,
Here is a piece of the sword. It was held by a witch and her coven.
Uncle Deckard, they sound like those dark cultists you told me about.
Very good, Leah. You have been paying attention. Stranger, does any of this jar your memory?
I have no memory of this coven, but I sense a far darker shadow guiding its hand.
Although we now know the reason for the Goatmen's frenzy, we cannot help but question the motives of this coven, and more so, the darker shadow the stranger mentioned guiding its hand. What we do know is that we shall not have the luxury of underestimating our foes a second time.